Back in early March, I placed a small bet on the Miami Heat to win the NBA championship, as I felt when they were finally able to get healthy, they would have one of the most complete teams in the entire league. Well, last night, the Miami Heat showed exactly why they're one of the most complete and scary teams remaining in the postseason, and today I want to break down how they did just that. What's up, guys? SCJ here, and if you enjoyed today's video, then make sure to give it a like as it helps out a lot, and if you're new to the channel and or enjoy the NBA, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Last night was the first game of the 2022 Eastern Conference Finals, and the Miami Heat got a double-digit win over the Boston Celtics as they won by a score of 118-107. The Celtics really looked great in the first half, as the Heat only led once in the first 24 minutes of last night's contest, and the Celtics even opened up a 13-point lead with 5:37 remaining in the first half. But the Jimmy Butler-led Miami Heat wouldn't go out quietly, and the Heat showed exactly why they're a championship contender from that point onward. To start off the game, the Celtics seemed like they knew how to keep the Heat's defense flustered, the same way the Bucks did to them in the Bucks vs. Celtics Game 7 on Sunday, as Bam switches onto Tatum, and Tatum knew the defensive help would be converging onto him, and there's 3 Heat players in his vicinity, and as a result, Tatum found Grant Williams for a 3-ball to start the scoring of the night off. As shown in my previous video, Derrick White has been excellent when used in action, and right here, the Celtics search for mismatches and White as a screener, you have the Heat switch, and Tucker shows help, then Tatum drives on Vincent, and it's safe to say it worked out well for Boston. What helped the Celtics in the second half of their win on Sunday was just how active they were defensively, and right here you can see just that as they started off active, and you have White with a denial and a switch as Vincent comes off. Tucker screens with an empty corner and Williams in a drop. Williams is able to sit back and contest, then gets the block. Boston being able to mix schemes shows how head coach Ime Udoka has them executing intelligently. The Celtics' activity denied handoffs from Miami, as you could see it was frustrating them as White continued to stay active the entire play and was a pest for whoever he switched onto, as he made sure that Strus really struggled early last night. It seemed like the Celtics copied the drop play that the Bucks did against them. However, they realized that wouldn't be able to fluster every Heat player the same way the Bucks did it to them. More specifically, the way Bucks did it to Derrick White, as Butler went right at the Celtics' drop coverage. The Celtics on offense continued to attack mismatches as Williams screens off the ball and Strus switches. Tatum catches a pass from Robert Williams at the top of the key and easily eats up the defense. Boston continued to play physical and pester the Heat on their handoff plays, and you could tell it had the Heat out of their element. The way the Heat started to answer Boston's drop defense, though, was with 6th Man of the Year winner Tyler Herro, and they're going to need him to come up big in this series, as he's really struggled to consistently put up his regular season numbers in the 2022 playoffs thus far. One reason they need Herro to hit these jumpers is because it opens up so much more for his teammates and allows him to show off his underrated playmaking, as he's able to open up the role for Bam here. Another reason Herro needs to lock in offensively in this series is because it threw the Celtics defense off as they began to show 2 on the ball, and that meant easy buckets for the Heat as Herro hits Tucker rolling and the help comes, then Tucker dumps it to Dedmon for 2 easy points. One reason I think the Heat are so deadly is because of just how many great defenders they have on this roster, and right here, their activity defensively leads to 2 points. However, allowing the Celtics to mismatch hunt has to stop next game, as on the next defensive possession for Miami, White has the dribble handoff to Tatum, Herro switches, then Tatum immediately finds the paint. One guy I mentioned in my previous video talking about the Heat is Victor Oladipo, and he's a very forgotten player, and the Heat will need to play him as often as possible, as he's not a bad defender whatsoever, and he helped them loosen up the Celtics defense as they pestered him on the handoff play here, but he worked his tail off to get open and he hit the jumper. The Heat closed the gap, and the Celtics went to one duo we don't see working off of one another enough, and that's Brown and Tatum. As Tatum hands it off to Brown, Brown finds Tatum, and Tatum knows the help on the drive will come, and he gets Robert Williams a nice lob. One way the Sixers were able to find success for James Harden was by switching Tucker off of screens, and the Celtics did that for Tatum as Pritchard screens and Oladipo switches onto Tatum, and Miami tries to show early help, but Tatum sees Pritchard has some space and gets him the ball for the free throw line jumper. While Ime Udoka is a great coach, Eric Spoelstra is also a great X's and O's guy, and this play is beautiful right here as Jimmy and Oladipo go to the handoff and roll play, which gets Jimmy 2 free throws. As the Heat began to cut the lead down, Tatum found the matchup he wanted versus Caleb Martin and ate him up. But Jimmy Butler ended the first half with a Heat bucket to cut it down to 8, and this was really when the Heat began to wake up. At the half, Spoelstra must have told his guys that they have to make adjustments as the Celtics hurt them with slips with Williams in the first half, but here it turns into a late switch and PJ was able to contest the pass to Williams rolling. Once again, the Celtics tried to go back to what was working for them in the first half offensively, but the Heat weren't having it, as Williams screens for Tatum to get Strus involved. The Heat don't give the switch, and you have 2 on the ball. Tatum hits Williams on the pop, but Bam introduces himself to Grant Williams. The Celtics got a taste of their own medicine as Butler began to mismatch hunt for Pritchard, and he screens, gets the switch, now it's an ISO, and 2 free throws coming up for Jimmy Butler. One of those many excellent defenders I mentioned the Heat having is Bam Adebayo, as he guards Jaylen Brown, who's a shooting guard, tremendously, and follows him right to the rim for the block. On the opposite end of the following possession, Butler did to the Celtics what Tatum did to them, and he consistently ate up their defense now. Miami doubled down on the help-first Tatum. In the first half, Brown was spaced in the corner or on the wing 1 pass away as a threat. Here he is all the way in the corner with Williams 1 pass away. Strus is planted in as help, and it works for the steal and 2 points. Boston lost their offensive game plan, as you can see here. Vincent is in the pick and roll, Brown gets the switch and he's looking for the slip, and Butler intercepts it. The Celtics have to have the same attack mindset and find their flow when the Heat's counter to the Celtics game plan, and that's going to be a problem if they can't do that the rest of the series. Here's one of the guys I said I want to see more of, Victor Oladipo, and this one play is one of the many reasons why. One thing I credited the Celtics for in my last video was the way they began to get active, switch, and slash defensively in the second quarter of their game on Sunday against the Bucks. And right here, I got to credit the Heat for doing just that in the second half last night against the Celtics. Another example of how scary their defense is was a bit later in the fourth, as Tatum looks to turn the corner here versus PJ Tucker. He's met by Bam Adebayo, who helps. When he recovers, he tries to throw out the tights, and Jimmy Butler is right there. The Celtics seem like they didn't know how to stop Jimmy from mismatch hunting for Pritchard, as he continued to do just that. And even when the Celtics or Pritchard didn't give the switch, Butler still killed them as he hits the corner after Pritchard doesn't switch. The defense helps, and then he kicks to Strus for what felt like the true dagger in last night's contest. The Celtics tried to counter Butler attacking Pritchard by having Tatum help and go under, but Butler ate him up as well, and Jimmy really might be the best player and the most consistent as well in the 2022 playoffs, in all honesty. Oh, and I'm talking about on both ends of the ball as well. So this performance by the Heat was a true masterclass showing of how complete of a team they are, and they showed exactly what they're made of by countering what the Celtics threw at them and turning a 13-point deficit into a 20-point lead at one point or an 11-point win by the time the final buzzer sounded. While I think I still have to give the edge to Golden State as my favorite to win the championship, and also the fact that this was just one game, and we saw how Boston answered back multiple times against the Bucks last series. Also, it's important to mention that the Celtics were without Marcus Smart and Al Horford, and those two guys definitely could have changed the outcome of this game, at least in my opinion. I truly do look at the Heat as the more complete team, and I think when you get performances out of Jimmy Butler like the ones that they've gotten throughout the playoffs this year, including the 41, 9, 5, 4, and 3 stat line he put up last night, they're going to be a tough team to beat, and as long as Eric Spoelstra draws up the great game plans like he's been, I'm sure they'll be able to compete every night they go out. As even without Duncan Robinson and Kyle Lowry playing for them last night, who were two guys that played 79 and 63 games respectively for them in the regular season, they still looked elite and looked like they truly have a championship on their mind. I want to know, though, what you guys think about this Heat team, any of their players, or anything we talked about in the video down below in the comment section. If you like the video, then make sure to give it a like as it helps out a lot. And if you're new to the channel and or enjoy the NBA, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. That way you stay up to date with all the newest content on my channel. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'm SCJ, and I am out. Peace.